Fun fact, I reviewed 68 horror movies released in 2024 so far. And I was able to split them into 3 categories. Good to great to fucking incredible, kinda okay, and really, really, really apocalyptically bad. Now the good to great and incredible category actually had some good stuff. It just wasn't all that deep. The decent category to okay, there were a few in there, but why do a list about the stuff that I was just kind of on? Let's talk about the really, really bad stuff. There were so many bad horror movies, horror-adjacent movies from this year that I didn't even have room to slag off every single goddamn movie that I thought was so apocalyptically awful that I thought, what the hell were they goddamn thinking? This was the best that they could come up with. I don't know how much thought they put into this project, but more would have helped. I'm John Rentham with my 10 worst horror movies of 2024 list so far. Let me know your worst horror movie entries in the comments, please. And yeah, 68 horror movies. I could have gone with one more and gone to 69. Would have been the nicest number to pick from. But, yes, all of these movies I'm going to mention, by the way, are on the Real Honest Movie Reviews playlist. And some of them are recent. Some of them were from a while ago. And some of these I actually forgot came out this year because I have reviewed, as of this recording, 141 total movies. I'm basically just on pace to keep up with what I did for 2023, which, of course, is just last year for those of you that don't own a calendar. And by the way, if you're watching this in the future, greetings. I hope the future is treating you well. But yeah, I'm not going to do my 10 best and 10 worst movie lists yet, because I still have a few more things to possibly add to it. But yeah, let's just jump right on into it with Founders Day. It was the first movie that I saw this year. It was a mystery movie. Somebody dresses up like a judge, goes around killing people. It tried to be political satire along with being a slasher, and it couldn't do either of those right. And I was way too kind in my initial review. I really should have been a lot harsher on this, because despite the people attempting to make something well-intentioned and possibly hilarious, I think for like any time that I might have laughed, there were like 10 other times where I was like, wow, this is terrible. And also it was very obvious who the killer was from the very goddamn beginning. Predictability doesn't breed contempt, except in this case, because I had contempt for it. Just like I had contempt for Sunrise. Guy Pearce is a very racist guy who hates people that aren't his color, and also there's a vampire. Yeah, that's about it right there. It was terrible. What the hell happened to Guy Pearce being in good movies? Destroy All Neighbors. Jonah from the most recent seasons of MST3K, so you know it's going to be a choice. Yeah, it's basically a comedy horror. It's on Shudder currently, by the way. Where, yeah, I don't know what the point of this was. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea, but Destroy All Neighbors. Not zombies ate my neighbors. Not destroy all humans. No. Destroy All Neighbors just turned out to be very unfunny. And very, very, it wasn't horrific. There were some decent body horror effects. So I guess that's why I didn't put this in the top 10. But it was just really, really bad. Really fucking bad. History of Evil. After an opening that really wasn't all that good, people are escaping, with somebody in tow that is a hostage that could actually benefit this resistance, because apparently there's a new civil war going on in the U.S. that we only hear about. We don't get to see because the movie, I think, had the budget that somebody found in a shoebox, and the shoebox wasn't even full of cash, likely change, and they likely had to grift to get this film made. That's being unfair, but it wasn't good. They happen upon a house that has a seedy, racist background, and that's about it right there. It's on Shudder if you want to check it out. It's terrible, though. And a violent nature. I would love to know what people saw in this. One creative kill. And yes, you follow the killer's perspective. The problem is the movie doesn't have anything else. And you don't need a deep narrative when you have a slasher. Here's the problem. The movie is a short film concept stretched out to a full-length feature. I did enjoy this, beyond that one creative kill. Even following the killer just really got, The killer wasn't worth rooting for. Nobody was worth rooting for. It was just a movie that meandered beyond that one creative kill. Now we go to number 10, The First Omen. Why is there a bad room? Because people do bad things. Expert writing there. It's a sequel to The Omen. Look, Damien, it's all for you. And this is a prequel about how things happened. And it's not interesting. I do not understand why people thought that this was so good. Oh, it's so creative. It's so scary. What film were they watching? The jump scares were bullshit. This was right after I saw Immaculate. Immaculate, by the way, had at least some decent body horror effects. I don't understand why people thought Immaculate was all that good, but that's just me. This didn't have Sydney Sweeney in it, and it was still somehow worse. The first Omen was very, very bad. Very bad, despite some of the talent in it. They wasted Ralph Ineson. Good job there, movie. You managed to waste one of the most talented actors of his generation. Like, really, he's really, really good. From The Witch to, like, a lot of stuff. The Green Knight. I'm not saying that he's been great in every single thing, but he is a very, very, very good actor when you give him material. And, yeah, it was the first Omen, and it plodded along. It was 2 hours and felt like it was about 2.5, if not more. So we get to Under Paris. Shark basically invades the Seine, or Seine, or Seine, I think that's what it is. The canal in Paris. And and that shark's reproducing, and weird shit happens. And it's basically if Jaws was directed by a sea cucumber or a French escargot dinner plate. It's like The Last Shark that Italy made to capitalize on the success of Jaws, except I think I preferred The Last Shark more because at least I got some humor out of that. This was terrible. Has some of the worst special effects I've seen. It's a Netflix original, by the way, so you're either going to get something that's shockingly not all that bad or something dim-witted like this. Sting was about a spider that came down from space and killed people in an apartment. An apartment complex that consisted all of like 6 rooms, including a basement. And it was meant to be a comedy. It wasn't good. I sat through this, and somehow the audience I was with apparently had not been out of the house in a while and laughed at it. If any of the audience members that I was at the showing of happen to recognize me and happen to be watching this, I'm sorry, but I don't understand why the fuck you thought something so dumb was so entertaining. Yeah, Sting was terrible. And also featured monumentally dumb decisions. It could have been a nice throwback to monster movies from the 50s and 60s. The thing is, this movie should have just been compacted, like something that happened in the movie. So, we get to The Exorcism. One of the most recent movies that I reviewed. Russell Crowe plays a guy who plays a priest who gets possessed and must deal with issues. Ryan Simpkins from the Fear Street movies is in this. And the attempts at meta-commentary are terrible. It's from the guy who is the son of Jason Miller, who played Father Karras in The Exorcist. And it's bad. It's really bad. Check out my review of it. So we get to Night Swim, number 6. A haunted pool. A movie about a haunted pool. That's what it was. Wyatt Russell's in this. Carrie Condon is in this, coming off of The Banshees of Inisherin. I have no problem with people getting mainstream stuff, and yes, that's great. That's great that you're getting work, but this is what you chose? Blumhouse, by the way, produced it because of course they bloody did. Because why the fuck wouldn't they? Yeah, Night Swim is terrible. Somehow not the worst Blumhouse entry on this particular list. That comes up in a bit. Good grief. Good goddamn grief. Me oh my, down on the bayou. That's where this movie should have been sent. And the sad thing is there were a few decent ideas, but the movie was so dark you couldn't see what the fuck was going on. And also the fact that they hinted at a sequel. Sorry, that's a spoiler, but they did. Number 5, Tarot. Or Tarot. This movie should have rotted. This movie rotted from the beginning. I don't have a problem if people found some entertainment in this. I didn't, because this movie is such a tonally inconsistent mess. And I watched this at the theater in town in the second biggest screen in the complex. They actually thought that this might do well. Now, maybe it did. Maybe it ended up making more money than I expected. But I ended up watching it by myself and was actually very, very surprised. Like, well, what the fuck is going on here? Why in the world? Why is this happening? What the hell? Yeah, Tarot was really, I know Tarot. And it had the old lady from The Watchers. More on that in a bit. Sorry, spoiler. And also The Northman and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake that was on Netflix. The remake of the remake, forgetting all the other remakes. Tarot is terrible. Tarot cards basically predict the deaths and untimely ends of various people that aren't distinct. And we keep getting more characters making dumb decisions. If they just leaned into full goddamn comedy, then that's fine. But they treat it too seriously. And that's the problem. The lead actress, who, bless her, don't know her name, don't care, treated this material so seriously. I was actually concerned that maybe she was told to do that, or otherwise her favorite animal was going to be executed in front of her. Because that's really about the only excuse that you could come up with for acting this bad. Number 4, Skeletons in the Closet. Terrence Howard and Cuba Gooding Jr. I was told that Cuba Gooding Jr. has done some very, very bad things. I was not aware of this because so many actors have been out as being very, very bad people. It's hard to remember all this. Terrence Howard is in it, and I would really like to know what the budget for this was, because I think it was about $50. Some of the worst special effects I've seen. It is actually shocking that Shudder picked this up. I do not understand why Shudder picked this up, except for making fun of it. There is no good reason to watch this, because it is like somebody's home movie with a couple of, used to be popular actors. And I really don't understand what the hell was going on. The story was so inconsistent. Somebody was tied into this whole tragedy, or this whole thing going on, and then they just seemingly forgot about that, and then we're just going with Cuba Gooding Jr. Protecting this kid. I hope that's all he did, allegedly, and just all this stuff going on. Terrence Howard just phoning it in, back when he used to be in good stuff, before he turned into quite a naughty individual. Yeah, really, really bad. Also featured some of the worst seance stuff I've seen in a movie in a while, which is saying something. Number 3, Latency. Sasha Luss basically plays a gamer who is trapped in an apartment. We find out why, and it's terrible. I drove and watched this at a theater. I fought through traffic to get there, and I fought through traffic to get back to watch this shit, because I wanted to see if it was really, really bad. And no, it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was worse. Terrible jump scares, terrible atmosphere. The sad thing is, this could have worked, but yeah, they pretty much just gave up on the whole thing. It's like the most 2000s, this and Tarot were like the most late 90s, early 2000s horror movies of 2024. But yeah, Sasha Luss, stopped featuring her as a lead. She was fine in Anna, thanks to Luc Besson's direction. Give her an ensemble cast, or just don't do this anymore. Find something else to do. Imaginary is number 2. And Imaginary is about a bear named Chauncey, who's an imaginary friend who's really evil, who takes control of this girl. And this little girl, bless her, is one of the worst kid actors I've seen in a while. Don't do this. Go take acting classes. I hate picking on kids, but this kid was really bad. There was like one halfway funny moment near the end of the movie, and any of the stuff that like could have actually been kind of scary was stamped out by, Blumhouse. Blumhouse had something to do with this. Of course they fucking did. This movie actually nearly broke me. I nearly just said, I don't want to review horror movies anymore. If you see my review of it, then you know exactly how I felt. I basically did a terrible musical intro to the music box like thing when you pull on this string. And yeah, you pulls this string like Bela Lugosi. It is terrible. Imaginary is terrible. Number 1, I'm cheating here. The Strangers Chapter 1 and The Watchers. I couldn't decide which one was the worst, so I said both. It's my list. Fuck you. The Watchers, directed by M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's daughter, featured the lady who was in The Northman and Tarot and stuff like that. I don't remember how to pronounce her name. I always get it wrong. It's very, very British or Irish. She's a very good actress when she's allowed to be. Terrible twist. Georgina Campbell's in this. Again, the incredibly gorgeous Georgina Campbell. Like I've mentioned in other reviews. She's incredibly attractive. Dakota Fanning, who is going to be 30 this year, and I don't like that. It makes me feel old. Bless them, they all try. I mean, they try, but oh my God, did they try. But this movie was like coming out of an institution. It is terrible, and the twists are terrible. Well, the twist Because it's not a good M. Night Shyamalan twist. It's really, really bad. And if you can't see it coming from a mile away, I don't know what to tell you. The Strangers Chapter 1 is just a bastardization of The Strangers, which, upon rewatching, isn't all that great. This is worse than Strangers Prey at Night. We're getting 2 more of these. Apparently, the next 2 movies are going to be following the lead actress that survived the first one. Sorry, spoiler. Over the next few days, that's the next 2 movies. Well, I guess we know what's going to happen. I bet you they're going to have, I'm just going to say this right now as a spoiler because I don't give a shit. I bet you they're going to have her end up as either pinup girl or dollface when she manages to kill one or the other. And they're going to indoctrinate her into this, and she's going to end up being part of the group. Watch that be the case. So yeah, all these movies are terrible. So 10 best and 10 worst movies, the full list, not just horror, are going to be coming up in a bit after this. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ricklin. I'll see you soon.